Praise the Lord, everyone. First and foremost, giving honor to God who's in my life, to my leaders, Apostle and Terry's going to jump right into this video. God puts us in a position where He needs and wants us to be. It may seem like, what we are facing and going through is so tiring or frustrating, but God puts us in things and out of things at an appointed time. At my recent job, I felt like I was getting overwhelmed and I felt miserable at that job, so I left. And after leaving, I felt, peace, and so I had to get another job because, I had bills to pay and stuff like that. But at that job, I felt miserable and not at peace either. And as I was working at that job, I was pretty much telling God, like I wanted to leap out and start up our business because I wanted to have like a bakery business. And so as I was like pretty much talking to him about it and stuff like that, like a few months passed and then like I got fired from that job. I felt a little bit devastated because, it was a job that provided so my bills can get paid. And I was out of work for like months, and God had to show me it's not the job or the employer or the government that provided for you, but Him. And it was like I was applying to all these different jobs and stuff like that and never got hired, never heard anything back. I was always talking and telling God about the business, and then and during that time, since like I literally had like no job, and I use that as like an excuse for like procrastination because I work all the time, so I'm gonna be tired. How am I gonna juggle all that? And so whenever I wasn't working, it was like, okay, I literally had like no excuse. Like God moved the job out the way to like leap out on faith and start that business. I had to learn to trust in Him, and trusting in Him gives that peace that no matter what the problem is, He's going to give you that peace as you trust in Him. And I'm gonna be honest, I've been dealing with getting frustrated with running a business and then, working and then trying to do this and trying to do that and juggle a whole bunch of different stuff at one time, and I had to learn to speak it into your life. God has given life and life more abundantly. It's not our portion to be, stressed out, broke, frustrated, or tired all the time or broken down. I'm still learning to just give it all to God because there's nothing that we can do about it. Trouble and what we see now, and it won't last always. And as we read Matthew 11:28 through 30, it reads, "Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light." I always ask, like, what does yoke mean? And yoke has two different meanings. It can represent slavery or bondage or being bound, or it can mean, teamwork, cooperation, like I'm here, I won't let you fall. Yoke is a wooden frame used to connect like two animals to pull a cart or something. I'm gonna show a picture, but a picture helped me out to like pretty much understand like what a yoke is. So yeah, it was the wooden piece that held like the two animals together. That was the yoke in that picture. And in the scripture in Matthew, it's telling us that God's yoke is easy. Rather than us doing it alone, He's here to do it with us and to help us out. And His burden is like, our burdens might be burdening us down and weighing us down, but His burden is light, and He takes our burdens, our pain, our troubles, and carry it for us. So it won't be so burdensome. We all have to choose daily to give it up to God because He's there always. He will never leave us nor forsake us. But we're right where God needs and wants us to be. He knows what He's doing. Just trust in Him and cast everything on Him and ask Him, what He wants us to learn and to get from the seasons that we are in. So yeah, pray my stand, the Lord. Thank you.